Today I'm going to be doing a quick video on insulin. One thing that I saw extremely frequently when I was first getting into hardcore bodybuilding when I was younger and researching, insulin protocols and peri-workout nutrition and how to like shove nutrients into the muscle like above and beyond what you would normally be able to do without insulin. One thing I started to notice a lot and still occurs a lot today is incorrect insulin advice. And just like this is the reason why 90% of guys who use insulin just get fatter and don't actually gain much out of it. They just hinder their body composition. And the reason is you have coaches who give guys an arbitrary amount of insulin to use and then throw like a dextrose or maltodextrin shake at them or a highly branched chain cyclic dextrin, some EAAs, and tell them to drink it with the shot to, shuttle the nutrients and like build stupid amounts of muscle. But if you actually look at like reverse engineer how insulin works in the body. So you eat carbs, your blood sugar goes up, pancreas releases insulin in order to bring your blood sugar down. So this is why diabetics who have, beta cells that don't even operate or function correctly and don't have, a proper functioning regulator of insulin secretion, they have to manually pin insulin to, complete that same function that we, endogenously have if you're not type 1 or type 2 diabetic. So the purpose of the insulin is to bring your blood sugar down in accordance with your current diet. So you have guys that are eating a diet and then their coach will be like, here, use 5 IUs of Humalog and then drink this. And like, does that actually make logical sense when you think about it? Like the whole point of insulin is to bring your blood sugar back to homeostasis, not to add calories that are just above and beyond what your body needs to be glycogen loaded. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a surplus because you're trying to gain muscle, like the chances of you being depleted totally to zero from your workout are slim to none, unless you're like a hardcore endurance athlete doing cycling or like Ironmans or something. And the insulin is supposed to be, like when diabetics use insulin, it's around their diet because let's just say they eat 3 meals a day and they have, I don't know, like 50 grams or 75 grams of carbs in each of those meals. Their insulin would be used in accordance with those 75 grams of carbs per meal, not with some arbitrary amount of insulin and then eating based on their insulin dosage. You know what I mean? So you have bodybuilders who are doing it the opposite of how it works in the body and what the point of it is. So you have guys who are eating more than they need to, high glycemic stuff, like literal just slamming table sugar pretty much, and then just injecting random amounts of insulin for no reason whatsoever. And they just end up gaining fat. So it's like the real, like, proper practical application of it would be insulin would be dosed accordingly around your carbohydrate intake that you currently have to gain muscle, not your diet plus a bunch of arbitrary, amounts of sugar to match the insulin. You know what I mean? So it's like if you had your breakfast of, whatever amount of carbs, the insulin, like a diabetic, would be used based on that amount of carbs in the breakfast, not let's use a randomly 7 IUs for no reason and then just slam a bunch of, trying to remember the name, like Vitargo and like EAAs. Like that just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So the point, just remember the point. If you have a coach who's trying to tell you, like I'm not a coach and I'm not trying to give advice here necessarily. I'm just trying to tell you what red flags to steer clear of if you see it in like a coaching plan that you buy from somebody or somebody's trying to tell you how to do. If you have your diet that's already a surplus of calories to gain muscle, and then you have a coach who's saying, here, use like this random amount of IUs and then this random shake to go with this random shot of insulin, like inquire as to the real reason why, what it's going to accomplish when you're already in a surplus of calories and your carbohydrates are all in those other meals being unaccounted for. Like, why is the insulin not being worked around the diet that's comprised of more than enough carbs than you need already to grow? Like, why is there things being added on top of it that are unnecessary and are just going to spill over? You know what I mean? So keep in mind how diabetics use this stuff and relate it to you personally if you're using it for bodybuilding purposes. And I don't encourage it for bodybuilding purposes, to be honest. Disclaimer, not a coach, not a doctor. I have like no credentials whatsoever to talk about, how to use insulin properly. So, and I'm not saying to use it. I'm talking about what not to do in regards to it. Like, it's to avoid a situation of you just becoming fat because you think you're going to get jacked off of it. So keep that in mind. And I highly recommend you, this guest Dave Palumbo has on his show, Colette Nelson, I believe her name is. She's super knowledgeable. Just like YouTube her name and go look up what she talks about at insulin. It's super informative, and you'll learn a lot. And like, it's a vastly different perspective than 99% of bodybuilding coaches will give you, who don't actually understand what the function of it is endogenously in the body. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please like, subscribe. Check out my blog, moreplates.com. Subscribe there. Check me out on social media. I always forget to plug them. I'm on Instagram. I post stories once in a while, which are mildly interesting that you might, want to engage in. I don't know. I have like a little vote things on there, and like I do Q&As once in a while. So check me out on Instagram at moreplates_more dates. I'm on Twitter, Snapchat. I have a podcast too, which I should post more on, but been busy. But check me out on iTunes and stuff too. Talk to you guys soon.